So you know that sound, right? Like the phone rings in the office, and it is 5:30 p.m. on a Friday.
Oh, yeah. The absolute worst possible time.
Literally the worst.
Hmm.
You're already packing up your briefcase. You're just completely exhausted from a long week of court appearances.
Or those endless client meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you just let it go to voicemail. I mean, we've all done it.
Of course we have. It's human nature.
Right. But that single missed ring isn't just like a minor annoyance for a law firm. That voicemail could be a massive personal injury case, or maybe a frantic family law client who needs immediate help.
Yeah, they're in a crisis.
Exactly. And instead of waiting for you to call back on Monday morning, they are just, moving down the list to the next lawyer on Google who actually picks up the phone.
Yep. And that missed call is, well, it's a direct pipeline to lost revenue. I mean, in the legal industry, accessibility is quite literally the currency of trust.
Wow, currency of trust. I like that.
It's true, though. When a client is in distress, they do not want a voicemail beep. They want a lifeline. And if you aren't there to provide it, someone else will gladly take their retainer.
That is exactly why today's deep dive is so crucial. We're unpacking a comprehensive 2026 breakdown from the Service Agent blog that solves this exact leaky bucket of lost revenue.
It's a great piece.
It really is. The guide is written by an industry reviewer named Shamhav, and it evaluates the top 7 virtual receptionists designed specifically for law firms this year.
But, before we get into the actual platforms, we have to establish a really critical operational distinction. The source material makes this point right out of the gate, and it's so important.
Oh, the terminology thing.
Yes, we absolutely have to separate an answering service from a virtual receptionist because people throw those terms around interchangeably, and they really shouldn't.
Right, because they do totally different things.
Completely different. An answering service is fundamentally just a message taker. They say hello, they take a name, ask for a brief message, and promise you'll call them back.
Basically a glorified voicemail box.
Exactly. But a virtual receptionist operates in a completely different sphere. They handle actual legal intake. They qualify your leads. They schedule appointments directly onto your calendar.
And
And
they update your CRM, right?
yes, automatically. They automatically update your customer relationship management software.
So to put that into perspective for everyone listening, an answering service is really like a locked front door with a drop box. Like people can slide a message inside, but they can't actually get into the building.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks. And a virtual receptionist is like a concierge who actively walks them into the lobby, checks their ID, and seats them in the correct waiting room with a cup of coffee. I mean, they are doing the heavy lifting before you even pick up the file.
And because the stakes in law are so incredibly high, the type of concierge you place at your front door matters immensely. Like, a poorly handled intake call doesn't just lose a lead.
It damages your brand.
It can actually damage your firm's reputation in the entire community.
Which brings us to the first major category from the breakdown, right?
Yeah.
The pure human premium.
Right.
Because think about the mindset of someone calling a lawyer. They aren't usually having a great day.
No, almost never.
They might be facing a devastating lawsuit, or dealing with a severe injury, or navigating this really messy divorce. So empathy in that specific moment is completely non-negotiable.
It's everything.
Yeah. So the source starts with the services that promise a 100% human voice on every single call.
And the guide highlights Ruby receptionists as a massive player in this space.
Rubies, yeah, they're everywhere.
They really are. They run about $350 a month, which that buys you roughly 100 minutes of call time.
Okay, $350 for 100 minutes.
Right. And what really stands out in the evaluation is that 4.4 out of 5 rating on G2. The reviews overwhelmingly focus on their seamlessness. Like, callers genuinely believe they're speaking to an in-house employee.
Like someone sitting at a desk right down the hall.
Exactly, rather than a third-party service based out of Portland, Oregon.
I mean, maintaining that illusion of scale is a huge selling point for smaller firms. But the guide also introduces LEX Reception, which kind of pushes that human element a step further.
Oh, by being exclusively dedicated to the legal field.
Exactly. They integrate deeply with popular legal software, like Clio Grow in my case. And they start at $425 a month for 150 minutes.
And in Capterra, reviewers actually note that they cost about 25% less than some of their direct competitors, which is interesting.
It is. But I have to ask, playing devil's advocate here, if we were essentially just talking about human beings sitting in a call center answering phones, why go with a legal-only service over a general one?
That's a fair question.
Like, what makes one human worth a premium over another?
Well, you have to look at the massive difference between a generalist and a specialist, especially in a heavily regulated field like law. LEX receptions agents are trained specifically on personal injury, immigration, and family law protocols.
Okay, so they know the jargon.
More than just jargon, consider the concept of a conflict check. If a generalist answering service takes a message from someone who was just in a car crash, they might just pass the name along.
Right.
But a trained legal receptionist knows to ask specific identifying questions to ensure your firm doesn't already represent the other driver in that exact same crash.
Oh, wow. Because if you accidentally intake both sides of a lawsuit,
Yeah.
you are looking at a catastrophic ethical violation.
You could get disqualified from the case entirely. That's a huge deal.
Exactly the issue. They understand the nuances of legal confidentiality. They don't just sound polite,
Yeah.
They are legally literate.
Right. When a potential client calls in a complete panic about a statute of limitations expiring, that receptionist isn't just reading from a generic corporate script. They know how to properly triage a legal emergency and flag it for you immediately.
So you're essentially paying for the industry, vocabulary, and the risk mitigation.
Precisely.
But there's a flaw in that massive call center model, right?
Hmm.
Even if the agent is legally trained, they are still a stranger to your recurring clients.
Yeah, that's the trade-off.
If a firm wants to replicate the feeling of an in-house receptionist who actually recognizes a client's voice, they kind of have to abandon the massive pool model entirely.
Which leads directly into the next tier of services in the guide, the dedicated teams and boutique operations.
Right. The source highlights a company called Abby Connect for this specific need. They run about $329 a month for 100 minutes.
And they have a 4.5 out of 5 on G2.
Yeah. But their defining feature is that they assign a dedicated small pod of just 5 to 10 receptionists to your specific firm.
Okay.
Right. Over time, those same 5 to 10 people answer all your calls, and they actually learn who your frequent callers are.
Creating that institutional memory is incredibly powerful for client retention. Just imagine a highly stressed client calling in about, say, an ongoing custody battle,
Oh, yeah.
having to explain who they are and spell their last name to a new stranger every single time they call.
It just adds to their frustration.
Exactly. But when a receptionist picks up and says, "Oh, hi, Sarah, I know he's in court right now, but I'll make sure he sees your message," I mean, that familiar voice actively de-escalates the panic.
It's the difference between calling a massive corporate hotline and walking into your neighborhood coffee shop where the barista already knows you want an oat milk latte.
That is spot on.
The guide also mentions Back Office Betties, which is another boutique service. They start at $360 a month for receptionists, but they scale up to $960 a month for full virtual assistants.
And they integrate with Clio, Lomatics, and Calendly.
Yeah. So they're essentially acting like a part-time paralegal who can do your heavy admin work while also handling the phones.
We should also bring Answering Legal into this conversation. They specialize in solo and small budget firms.
Right. Starting at $330 a month for 100 minutes and going up to $737 for 250 minutes.
Yes. And what makes them stand out at that price point are these unique features, like processing e-signature retainers right over the phone.
Wait, they do outbound calls too, right?
Yes, to website leads. But let's unpack how crucial that e-signature feature is for a solo attorney.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine you're a solo lawyer stuck in a trial all day. Your phone is off. A potential client calls with a $10,000 case. If you just have a message-taking service, that client might get anxious and keep Googling other lawyers while you were in the courtroom.
And they're gone.
Exactly. But with Answering Legal, the receptionist can walk them through the intake, qualify them, and actually send and process the e-signature retainer while they're still on the phone.
So by the time you walk out of court, you literally have a signed, retained client.
It fundamentally changes the sales funnel. It closes the loop immediately.
That's wild.
And these tailored boutique approaches build incredible client trust. The source notes this one review for Back Office Betties, where an attorney mentioned that their in-person visitors didn't even realize the receptionist they spoke to on the phone the day before wasn't sitting right there in the physical office.
Wow.
That level of seamless integration is just invaluable.
But this bespoke human touch brings us to a massive operational bottleneck.
Ah, yes. The dark side.
Yeah. Human quality is fantastic, but human labor scales terribly. Which brings us to the billing structure.
The danger zone of permanent traps and hidden fees.
What really gets me about this section of the source material is the sheer irony of the billing model. I mean, the guide pulls some brutal horror stories from G2 and Capterra reviews.
Let's hear them.
Let's look at LEX Reception again. We established they are legally literate and highly trained, right? Well, their overage fee is $2.75 per minute.
Ouch.
The guide points out that a firm getting just 200 calls can easily wake up to a surprise bill of $1,100 to $1,400.
Absorbing a staggering variable cost like that can just cripple a small firm's monthly budget.
And Ruby isn't immune to this either. According to the G2 reviewers cited in the text, some call the billing outright dishonest.
That's a strong word.
Yeah. Users report being charged $650 for just 200 minutes. They point out that competitors offer 350 minutes for a fraction of that cost. Plus, reviewers complain about recurring annual price hikes catching them entirely off guard.
Well, and beyond the raw rates, you have to look at what you are actually being billed for. With Abby Connect, users reported being charged overages for spam calls where the phone simply rings.
Wait, really? Just draining their minutes on robocalls?
Yes. There were also reports of aggressive upsells during the onboarding process.
Ugh, that's the worst. And then Answering Legal refuses to even publish their pricing publicly on their website. You have to get on a mandatory sales call just to find out what it might cost you.
It's incredibly frustrating.
It is. You're paying a premium to these services to do thorough, empathetic legal intake. You want them to ask all the right questions and make the client feel heard. But because you are billed by the minute, you are actively being financially punished for having deep, meaningful conversations with your leads.
You are hitting on the fundamental conflict of interest inherent in the traditional per-minute model. The incentive structures are just completely misaligned.
Totally.
On one hand, you have the law firm's strict monthly operating budget. On the other hand, you have the firm's need to properly qualify a complex legal lead, which naturally takes time. When every second ticking by is costing you $3, you are implicitly incentivized to rush the caller.
And rushing a caller who is trying to explain the worst day of their life,
Their messy divorce or their DUI arrest.
is the fastest possible way to break trust and lose their business.
It creates a lose-lose scenario. The receptionist is either brief and seemingly cold to save you money, or they are warm and thorough, and you get hit with a massive overage bill at the end of the month. It's a broken model for any firm doing high-volume intake.
So how does a modern firm escape these punishing human limits? Enter the 2026 AI disruption.
Yes, the legal tech landscape is shifting entirely to solve this specific scale problem. We are seeing the rise of AI-first platforms designed to break the per-minute trap.
The guide zeroes in on a platform called Service Agent, positioning it as an AI intake paralegal. And the numbers here are wild compared to the legacy services.
Oh, completely.
$0 monthly platform fees, a free built-in CRM, free calendar booking, and free Stripe payment processing.
That's a lot of free.
Right. And the biggest shift, you only pay per call. There is no per-minute ticking clock. It's backed by Sauce Labs, which just raised $74 million, and early users on Product Hunt gave it a perfect 5.0 out of 5.
They specifically praise the setup time, right?
Yeah, the fact that it only takes 90 seconds to set up.
Moving from per minute to per call pricing is a massive paradigm shift. It finally aligns the software's incentives with the law firm's goals. You pay for the outcome, a handled call and a qualified lead, regardless of whether the caller's story takes 2 minutes or 20 minutes to explain.
Okay, I hear the pitch, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute here.
Go for it.
Service Agent just launched in April of 2025. As the source explicitly notes, it has 0 G2 or Capterra reviews. None.
Right.
Are we really supposed to hand over a firm's most sensitive confidential calls to a totally unproven AI just to save on overage fees? Like, I can easily imagine a scenario where an AI hallucination leads to unauthorized practice of law.
Oh, absolutely.
What if the bot accidentally tells a caller, yes, you have a great case, the statute of limitations doesn't expire until next year, and it's completely wrong?
Those fears are entirely justified. We have to balance the technological hype with severe caution. And to the author's credit, the source article issues a stark warning about this.
Yeah, they didn't hold back.
They pointed out that Service Agent hasn't publicly disclosed its HIPAA or SOC2 compliance certifications yet. In the legal field, where client confidentiality and attorney-client privilege are bound by strict ethical rules, deploying uncertified software is a potential minefield.
Right, you can't just plug a new AI into your tech stack, Cross your fingers and hope it handles a frantic caller holding custody papers with the necessary tact and compliance.
The author's advice is uncompromising on this front. If you are going to explore this AI route, you absolutely must run a pilot program first.
Test it out internally.
Yes, you need to verify those compliance standards directly with their security team on a demo call, and test the AI internally before ever letting it speak to a vulnerable legal lead. AI is powerful, but in the practice of law, compliance and ethics dictate everything.
So what does this all mean for the listener trying to make a decision today? If pure humans are too expensive and unpredictable with their billing, and pure AI is still slightly terrifying and potentially lacking in compliance, is there like a middle ground?
There is. The guide suggests a third path, the hybrid approach.
Ah, the best of both worlds. The source highlights Smith.ai for this category, which boasts a very strong 4.6 out of 5 on G2.
They offer an interesting mix.
Yeah, they offer both a purely AI receptionist starting at $95 a month on a per-call basis, alongside a live human team that runs about $300 a month for 30 calls.
And they feature something called contact bypass lists, which is great.
Oh, right. Meaning if your spouse or opposing counsel calls, the system recognizes the number and routes it straight through, so you are never charged for it.
Utilizing bypass lists is an incredibly smart way to stop the financial bleeding on routine or internal calls.
I look at this hybrid model like a hospital triage system. You know,
How so?
the AI acts as the nurse at the front desk handling the high-volume routine traffic. It manages the after-hours overflow, the basic scheduling requests, and the FAQs. But when a complex high-stakes trauma comes in, like a new client intake, the AI immediately passes it back to the human experts.
Right, it protects the human's time.
Exactly, so they only focus on the calls that require deep empathy.
The triage analogy illustrates the goal perfectly, but as with all emerging tech, there is a significant catch mentioned in the reviews that we really have to acknowledge.
Well, there's always a catch.
Always. Smith.ai actually runs these two offerings, the AI front desk and the human receptionists, as completely separate product lines.
Wait, really? So it's not actually one seamless integrated system out of the box?
Far from it. Reviewers complain that because they are separate products, you have to pay for both separately. The billing becomes highly confusing.
Oh, yeah.
Moreover, setting up the AI side isn't a magical 90-second process. The source notes that the AI requires weeks of tuning, prompting, and onboarding before it is truly confident enough to be production-ready for your specific firm's workflows.
So wait, you're paying for two distinct services, managing two separate bills, and spending weeks training a robot, all while still paying human beings to catch the overflow.
Pretty much.
The hybrid model might be conceptually brilliant, but operationally it sounds like it can be incredibly clunky to get off the ground right now.
It requires a serious investment of time to build that automated workflow. It is not a plug-and-play solution.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, navigating from the high-touch boutique human teams all the way to the bleeding edge of AI paralegals. Let's distill this down so you can actually apply this knowledge to your own practice.
Making the right choice entirely comes down to understanding your firm's specific pain points, your average case value, and your daily call volume.
Right. So if you are running massive Google ad campaigns for a high-volume personal injury firm, you need predictable costs.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to be punished financially for having long, detailed intake calls.
No, you'd go broke.
In that scenario, AI platforms like Service Agent or the hybrid triage model of Smith.ai represent the inevitable future. You're trading a small degree of human warmth for massive scalable efficiency and fits per call pricing.
Conversely, consider a bespoke estate planning practice or a boutique family law firm. Your call volume might be relatively low, but every single call is incredibly high stakes, emotionally charged, and highly profitable.
Very different vibe.
Exactly. That is the environment where dedicated human teams like Ruby, AbbeyConnect, or LEX Reception are absolutely worth their premium price tag. You are paying for genuine human empathy, institutional memory, and nuanced conflict checking, things AI simply cannot reliably fake yet.
As we wrap up, there's one final thought that really stuck with me from the source's conclusion. The author notes that AI is currently perfect for FAQs, while humans are still desperately needed for those complex emotional calls. But it made me wonder about the trajectory of this technology.
Well, let's project this forward 5 or 10 years. If AI continues to rapidly improve, if it reaches a point where it can completely take over all the routine scheduling, the complex intake, and the billing queries, and it does it flawlessly at a fraction of a cent per call.
Right.
what happens to the human voice on the other end of the line?
Wow, yeah.
Will having a live human answer your law firm's phone soon become an ultra-premium luxury feature? Will it transition from an operational necessity into a way for high-end law firms to signal status and wealth to their clients?
Essentially communicating, our firm is so successful, we can actually afford to have a real person say hello to you.
Exactly.
Empathy transforming into the ultimate luxury good in the legal market. That is a fascinating and slightly dystopian thing to ponder.
It really is.
But for right now, today, you have a much more immediate task. I encourage you to go look at your firm's call logs from this past week. Count the exact number of missed calls, especially the ones that came in after 5:00 p.m. or over the weekend. Multiply that number by your average client lifetime value.
That's a scary math equation.
It is, because that massive number staring back at you, that is exactly how much it is costing you to let the phone keep ringing. Thanks for joining us on today's deep dive. We'll see you next time.